Rolling, roll. Isn't it, what is that song?
Limp
Bizkit.
Good old Limp Bizkit. High school music.
Did you guys watch? Did you watch that Trainwreck? Did you watch the documentary Trainwreck?
No.
Oh, you gotta watch it. It's on Netflix.
I've never even heard of it. What is it?
It's about Woodstock '99.
Ooh, Woodstock.
Yeah, they had it at like some abandoned air base, and all hell broke loose, and they had no water or anything like that. And
holy shit!
People collapsed all the towers and looted and burned everything. But anyway, part of that is the Limp Bizkit comes out and does a night set. One of the things they talk about is like in comparison to the old Woodstock, is that like the old Woodstock was like peace, love, a bunch of people just like out there grooving, and then like you bring in Woodstock '94 and then '99, and your headliners are now Korn, Kid Rock, Limp Bizkit, which absolutely just whip 500,000 people into just an absolute frenzy.
500,000 people.
That's
crazy.
I want to know how you have all these random facts and thoughts in your head.
Trainwreck, you got to watch
documentaries, man.
Watch Trainwreck.
Is that not where you get your facts?
I watch rifle shooting videos on YouTube.
I highly recommend
films,
Trainwreck.
bear films.
Come on, when you're done writing app strategies, and you get home at night, you don't want to watch something else?
I watch Game of Thrones.
Just rewatch constantly.
Yeah.
You can watch it when you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
I can't do that. Once I know what happens, I got it.
Or everyone knows I will watch Lord of the Rings multiple times a year.
Crazy.
I think I could only watch those one time ever. I can't get through them a second time. There's no way.
Really?
Agreed.
They're so slow. They drag on forever.
There's so much going on. It's so hard to focus on.
The Office, classic.
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec is so good.
Really good.
Shout out to Ron Swanson if you're listening.
That guy's awesome.
We should get him on the podcast.
Did you ever see the video that's on YouTube of him? It's literally Ron Swanson drinking whiskey for like 3 hours in front of a fireplace. That's literally the whole video.
So awesome.
You kind of just watch him just sit there and drink whiskey.
Lagavulin whiskey.
Yep.
Yeah, that's funny. Did you guys see what we have?
I heard.
Have you seen it? Do you have one?
No, I don't have one.
Why not?
But I've seen it. I don't know.
Look at
Good
this.
question.
YouTube, your 100th.
100,000 subscribers.
Our 100,000th subscriber. Anyway, yeah, I guess you get what do they call this? A play button?
Yeah, YouTube play button.
We made it, boys.
A YouTube
we
play
made
button.
it.
We just made it. It's kind of cool, though.
Neville had a cool stat. Cool. I can't remember what it is. I think it's like, was it 1%?
Less than
1% of all the YouTube channels.
Yeah, actually ever hit 100,000 subscribers.
Pretty cool.
So that's pretty cool. My actually favorite part, I looked at this a little earlier, but this is my favorite part of the whole thing. This award was inspected and packaged with great care by Rick.
Rick. Thanks, Rick.
Shout out Rick at YouTube for packaging our play button with great care. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. That is kind of cool.
Got that today. You know what I'm most excited about the play button?
What?
My 10-year-old thinks that would be the best thing ever for show and tell.
Oh, so yeah, right in high school.
Play button.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's taking it to school for show and tell.
Are you going to sign it? Should we all sign it?
We should. I'm going to get a picture of Brady on the front of it. That's Brady's but yeah, my kids think YouTube play button is pretty sick.
Yeah, I guess kids nowadays would. It's big. Yeah. Everyone watches YouTube. Like I said, to me, it's kind
of lost in translation for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
given the amount of content uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah, it's got to be a crazy number.
So, podcast today. Do you want me to hit promo? Are we doing promo now or promo at the back
Hit
end?
us with the promo code.
All right.
Give those listeners what they want.
All right. Today we're going to talk quite a bit about Winterkill because everybody's talking about Winterkill right now. We're going to talk about our application strategies personally, and then just also the application strategy articles that are going out in abundance right now. Covered Utah. When this podcast lands, you'll have 7 days, I believe, to apply in Utah. So you got till the 27th. You've got some other states coming up still. Arizona deer, sheep. You've got Wyoming antelope and deer, which we'll talk a little bit about also. But all this to say, it's research season. There's still a bunch of applications out there. I'm hoping for some results starting to come back.
Yes.
New Mexico, I'm looking forward to that.
I want that money back in my wallet if I don't draw.
No, I want that tag in my pocket.
That'd be better. I'd rather have that.
Better.
True statement.
But yeah, all that to say, there's still a bunch of opportunities to pick up a tag. I mean, you can still do over-the-counter opportunities in Colorado for elk. It's a great time to still buy and get yourself an insider research account. So you can use the promo code podcast. That's just podcast when you sign up for GOHUNT Insider account. We're going to give you 50 points back into the GOHUNT Gear Shop. That's $50. So $50 you can spend on any gear that you want in the gear shop. Now that the weather's warming up, what is it today? 80 some today in Vegas?
Oh, finally getting hot. Or
92? No way.
Yeah, I think it's in
not
the
cool.
90s.
Wolf.
Crazy.
Yeah, it
my
was
days of shooting my rifle are getting a little slimmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, 70 in Cedar, which is, I mean, it was 18 a week ago. So, but it is finally starting to warm up. But yeah, use that promo code podcast, get yourself an Insider Research account, use it to buy some gear in the gear shop with those 50 points that we give you back, and, you know, get out, start scouting, do some camping, hiking.
Yep.
Running.
Mapping season's coming up. So you get GOHUNT maps in there.
GOHUNT maps. We, I just saw that we picked up Solomon shoes. So you
Yeah.
got Solomon boots.
Don't buy solar panels. Cody, what is going on over there?
What are you watching?
Cody Moore over there. Cody Moore is buying solar panels.
Our producer is working very hard right now watching solar panel videos.
It's better than the alternative. What could have popped up? That's all I'm saying. Farm Animal Frenzy. I know that's what he's into. You're welcome, Cody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how's your own app strategies, your own application season coming along?
I mean, I always argue it's one of my favorite times of the year. It really is.
Lorenzo?
It's stressful, but fun.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Did you play in Colorado?
I'll know with the success that I have.
Did I apply? You're asking?
Yeah.
I mean, my honest answer?
Yeah, what'd you apply for?
The only one I actually applied for is Desert Bighorn.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
You don't apply for Rocky?
I do Desert. Because
Desert's totally random. You get no points.
Exactly. That's why I do it.
Do you have Rocky points at all?
No.
No.
And I'm not going to spend the money on it.
Gotcha.
Even though, you know, I can get to 3 and then just stay there. I saw some stuff the other day. They're thinking about switching some of that up, maybe to a bonus point system. So as they're changing things around, you know, sometimes change is not good. Sometimes change is better. So maybe it would have been beneficial, but that's one of those states that I just never bought the once in a lifetime type species sheep.
I think you're the only one I actually know that applies for deserts.
Exactly.
Colorado.
So I want that one tag.
I mean, you're a Nevada resident and you're applying for deserts in Colorado.
Yeah, everybody you know applies for Rockies and build points or
Yeah.
I'm just, you know, put my money towards other places, taxidermy bills, more fuel in my truck to go scouting.
They have archery though. Archery sheep,
I know. Yeah. So back to that though, that was the only species I actually applied for. Everything else I bought points.
Huh. Why? You were all in not that long ago. You were
remember the podcast? I was like,
yeah, I know. You said you were teetering, but you said you were still going to do it.
So the reason I swapped over is I, you know, cross my fingers. I hope I have a New Mexico deer tag in my pocket.
Ooh.
I was just, you know, doing a lot of research on New Mexico lately. I've never hunted deer there. I've always applied and shot for the stars for deer in New Mexico. Only hunted elk there because I'm as you guys know, big elk guy. I killed a bull in New Mexico.
Oh, Jesus.
But so hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll have a mule deer tag there. And that season dates, if I recall, is the 4th through the 8th. Mm-hmm. So trying to get a third season tag, you know, I burned my points. So I have to, you know, try to pick up a limited opportunity, you know, type hunt. And that hunt would then be the 11th to the 17th. So it'd be a mule deer sabbatical 2.0 in a sense, which I brought that reporter. He's like, oh, the mule deer sabbatical, you know, that was really good. I'm like, but I should have a Montana tag as well. So that's going to be like the end of November. So basically I'd be gone all of November if I try to.
If you draw them all.
Sounds pretty sweet.
Sounds pretty sweet. I'm a business
Did you lay it out like that too, Porter? Like basically I'm going to be gone in November. No, you didn't.
But you know, since Lorenzo's here, I'll say I'm a business first guy. So
I love it.
I understand I do have to be in the office.
Love it.
So right now I just bought points, and my strategy there is, you know, maybe something sweet gets popped up on the leftover list in Colorado. Maybe I can pick up a third season tag, not burn any points.
So you're not totally crossing it off your list?
Not totally crossing it off yet, but I was like, I'm just going to bank it. I did not look at any second choice options. You know, I probably could have done some second choice stuff or muzzy or archery. But right now, like I said, I should have a New Mexico tag, and based on all the snowpack and everything I've been looking at, could be a pretty fire year to have a New Mexico tag and some of the desert units with all the moisture we're getting. So it could be a good antler growth year. And, you know, maybe it's backwards strategy. Like why go to New Mexico instead of Colorado? Colorado's probably on normal years, you know, always a chance at a giant. But my thought is try New Mexico this year with
give it a break.
give it a break and try something else. Like I said, I should have a.
What if you don't draw New Mexico?
Yeah, then my plan to get thrown out the window. Why you put that bad juju on me?
Trail loves putting stuff out there.
Why did you put that thought in my head?
That's how I'm feeling like right now. Like honestly, I've got plans in the back of my head, but if they don't come to fruition, like if tags don't trickle in, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, it may just be over the counter elk in Colorado.
Yeah, so I have some thinking to do still, but you know, I had a lot of points in Montana, and as you guys know, I'm a big elk guy. So hopefully, you know, maybe Montana will take my elk points finally. Because
did you apply for elk then?
Yeah, and I have
limited special limited.
Yep, limited
14.
elk.
How many points you got? 14, 15?
I have 15 points in Montana.
Buddy.
Man, you might be going elk hunting.
Yeah, so I calculated out the
Let's
other
hope
day.
so.
I think at my point level and higher, don't quote me exactly, but I think there's only 39 non-residents at my point level and higher.
Wow.
Based on people who applied in the draw. Obviously, I don't know how many people
Who's carrying
just do
points.
points
Yeah.
because we don't have that report available. But based on people who applying, you know, should maybe eventually
Come
have an
on,
elk tag.
Montana.
So I just really
Let's
want to
go.
get that Montana elk tag kind of out of the way so I can start over in a sense.
Because you're an elk guy.
Because I'm an elk guy.
Yeah. Do we see what's happening? You're not fooling anyone. We see what's happening here.
I'm saying this as dry as I can.
The great transition.
He was
is
an archery
happening.
guy, and I was a rifle guy, I was a mule deer guy, and I was an elk
Yeah.
guy. Pretty soon he's a rifle elk guy.
But again, though,
Rifle elk guy.
as you guys know, though, but I think my strategy does play off really well. Being a mule deer guy your whole entire life, kill some great deer, hunt a lot of phenomenal places, and not giving two shits about elk for so long is going to pay off because now I have double digit creeping on high, like towards 20 points
Elk
for
points.
all these Western states for elk.
So
So
you're
now-
a big elk guy now.
So now I'm in the situation where, yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to guarantee to draw some of these. Like, you know, my Utah points, like, sure, never going to probably draw.
I don't know, man.
Don't
But-
say that. I
Right now
get
you
so
got
mad
op-
at you and Trail for always saying that. Why would you
get-
put that out there?
You got options.
So
now
now,
you got
though,
all
but
kinds of hunts.
since my strategy has been that for so long, and I'm so willing to wait to ever burn an elk point, I have an opportunity coming up to go on some absolute
Yeah, for
phenomenal
sure.
elk hunts because I don't care. So I'm willing to wait. And if I don't draw, sure, it's not the end of the world for me. It's not like I'm banking my season on those elk hunts. So I am fine carrying those
Yeah.
points for another 5-10 years until I actually draw. Sure, I'm going to be older in life, might not be able to do as crazy of stuff, but I will have some great elk hunts coming up just because of the way I've set my
For
app
sure.
season. And then
whether it was strategy or pure luck that you accomplished this with, you like timed it really well too.
Yeah.
You were in the deer, you know, in the heyday of it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now you're kind of transitioning to where the elk are doing phenomenal in all these Western states.
There's some places though, like in my Montana stuff that, you know, I lived there for quite a while. I saw what potential bulls were in some of these units that, you know, I'm applying for, and they're not what they were back in the day quality wise. Yes, there's still a lot of elk. Don't get me wrong. But I think the quality in a lot of those places are getting kind of shot out because they have, you know, increased some tags, you know, a lot of that stuff. Now they have, you know, an opportunity for, you know, more of the private land or
Yeah.
type of situations out there. So like they're definitely getting shot out. So I don't think the bull quality is what it was, but like Montana always still spits out a bunch of big bulls.
For
And-
sure.
And like I said, I have, you know, elk
and
points
you
everywhere.
don't care about
And
it.
I don't really care.
So 300 incher and a 390, same.
No.
Same.
That's
Same, but different.
But that's what's kind of a little stressful though too, because I get to these high point levels, and so that's like right now, that's 15 years of my
Yeah.
life. When you think about 15 points, it doesn't seem bad, but when you actually put a year number on, that's 15 years of my life I've been applying.
Yeah, how old were you 15 years ago?
A young pup.
Yeah, it's
Probably doing
crazy. That's what I always think about. Is
Math
like,
is hard.
That's what I always think about. Is I have, you know, X points and this. Holy shit! I was 20 years old when I. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
it's-
wild to go back that far.
But then now, since I have these high points, like so that's 15 years, so you want to kill a quality animal still.
yeah,
And so it's like you do put on like known pressure on yourself instantly.
For sure.
Like your expectations are going to be a little higher, you know, and I don't have a lot of elk experience, so I'm not the best at hunting them. I definitely can glass. You know, proficient with a rifle. So I have some of those toolkits in my toolbox,
yeah,
tools in my toolbox that I could utilize. So it's like, there's gonna be some pressure if I actually draw some of these tags. But again, I don't care. So I don't know when I'll draw these tags, but when I do, dude, I'm going to have a wall of bulls.
hey,
And that's going to be an expensive taxidermy bill because I do like
That
shoulder
is
mounting a
good.
few things. So
Yeah, those get pricey.
better have tall ceilings in your house.
Just skull
Yeah.
cap them.
yeah. So yeah, Colorado just did deserts.
Man,
interesting.
what you? What'd you do? Did you apply?
So
When did you
I-
apply? I'm curious to know that. When did last day?
Last day.
second to last day for me.
Yeah, last hour.
Get my app
last
on
day
top.
for me.
I was second to last day for me. I had some time before I went home when I get home to my kid, it's game over. So I'm like, I better do this now.
Yeah.
And I always get stressed out going to the last day because what if I do actually forget? It stresses me out.
Yep.
Yeah, even in Montana this year, they talked about pushing the deadline back because they had a bunch of errors.
Yeah.
Like that's
It's
what's scary about it.
Yeah.
So I was definitely one of those people who is promoting or helping the system crash by waiting till the last day, which is stupid because I knew what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But
I stress out about that. So
New
I'm
Mexico
always the second
system
to last.
crashed. They pushed it another day.
I heard that too. Yeah. But with my sheep hunt this year, I'm chasing a specific tag in Colorado. We talked about it on a previous podcast about I'm kind of done with the late season stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
So this tag I'm chasing, and I depending on point creep, you can't calculate for that. The guys that are holding points and just want to jump in, but I should have enough. Anyways, the sheep hunt kind of puts it in logistically a bad area for that. It'd be gone way too much. It would be a hunting sabbatical for me as well. Business first. Can't do that right now. So I bought points for everything, but I did apply for muzzleload antelope.
Oh my God.
So I did apply for that. Everything else was points only, just because it's all, it's the August, September is when I want to hunt in Colorado. And that sheep hunt just kind of pushed me back a year, which, hey, I'll take all day long for a sheep hunt.
So you have a sheep hunt booked?
Yeah. Yep.
Stone sheep?
Yep. Stone sheep.
What part of the world?
BC.
Okay. And what dates?
I was just gonna say the town and good thing I spaced on that.
Sorry, my bad.
I forgot we were.
I should have known better
BC,
to ask. But
I'm going to BC in August 1st, hunt open. So I'm going to leave July 29th and then head up there.
And you're booked for 15 days?
14.
14.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you've killed one, right?
I did a long time ago, yeah.
What was it like as far as hunt goes?
The most incredible.
What do they like to hunt?
Incredible.
I mean, pretty typical to like hunt a dog.
Look, I've been unbelievably fortunate to hunt all of the species except Rocky. I've been on a Rocky hunt, but I've been fortunate to kill all of them myself except for Rocky. The stones are incredible because they live like they're in the pine trees. Like they're much more at tree line than like what the dolls are. You see the videos of people on dolls, super open, big open faces, white sheep on a green face. Like it's awesome. I mean, it's definitely awesome. But man, the stones are the special one in my opinion. Like that's
harder to glass hunt.
Unbelievably harder to glass.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Unbelievably
just because they're the same color as
same color. And I mean, they do have that white on them. And if sometimes some of those color phased ones will be like brighter white on the necks and the butts. And those ones are a little easier, but those old, like copper colored, dark old rams, those ones are tough. And it's just cool. You have so much more opportunity to hunt them in the tree line, like actually in the pines. They're in like that big shale bowl, piney stuff. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Stone sheep, what they call a thin horn sheep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have doll sheep and stones, right?
And Fannin.
And Fannin. Okay.
Yeah.
Fannin's a cross between stone sheep.
They say, yeah.
Is that what they say?
I mean, I don't know enough.
I don't know either, but that's my understanding.
My understanding is, and then some people try to fight it and say it's not a. I don't know. I'm just relaying what I've heard over the years.
Its own subspecies.
Thing, yeah. Like a Cali kind of a thing,
What's a big stone score? 160?
So book is 168. So desert, doll, and stone are all booked at 168, which, I mean, if you're killing thin horns nowadays at 168, holy shit.
That would be unbelievable.
You have done something.
You've hung the moon.
Yes, you have done something. So my first stone was 155, and it's just a great, solid ram, just an unbelievable ram, lamb tipped and 13-year-old ram was awesome.
So they're not as heavy, yeah? I mean, just thin horn, so base measurements aren't nearly as big.
Correct.
But long.
Can get long, yeah. Can get really long.
How long? Like 35?
30. You're hoping to find 38, and if you break 40, you've hung the moon once again.
Gotcha.
Like it's one of those things.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things I've never really put much thought or looking into.
I mean, I've only hunted them once.
Yeah.
We'll see. And it was a while ago. So this is, a lot more mature. I'm a lot better hunter. I know a lot more just about hunting in general. I mean, you think that's 20,
how many
15 years of hunting in between.
15.
About 12 years hunting in between. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's crazy. It'd be almost an entirely different experience.
Yeah, so I mean that's how I'm thinking about it.
I mean, you'll go into that being much better hunter. You've handled.
I'm a father now. Like it's wildly different.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So it's like I don't know. It's like I've never done it because it was so long ago. And obviously I remember it. It's one of the most incredible hunts I've ever been on. But yeah, it's kind of going into new territory for me right now. I don't feel confident or comfortable. I'll tell you that. Like I'm kind of stressing out about gear and setup, and because it's just, I mean,
Yeah, it's coming up
been
quick.
so long.
Yeah.
So.
Jeez, that's crazy.
So anyways, that infringed on my Colorado stuff, which, like I said, gladly all fucking day.
Yeah.
I'll let it infringe on Colorado for a sheep hunt. So yeah, that's what I did in Colorado.
Doesn't bust your guys' balls to apply for points?
It does.
It does, because you just know you know you're out. Like you don't even have the chance.
Yeah.
Of email.
Yeah, you're not even
It's
really
like, yeah,
in
it's like
the
whatever.
mix.
Then when the results come back, you're not like excited when everyone else is like, "Oh, Colorado results are coming out today." Like,
Yeah,
well,
you're just like, I got my point.
So at least I applied for my muzzleload hunt that I love. So maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I applied last hour.
ooh, stretching it.
Yeah, and I thought it was a game time decision. Just
Game time.
yeah, I mean, and like I applied for elk. I applied for the unit that I was planning on applying for, but then I just, for whatever reason, I spent probably 20 minutes going, and I'd written the application strategy article, so I had some units in the back of my head that I was interested in, and so I just threw my kid in. He and I both for a third season deer tag in a unit. I've been kind of eyeballing, and then also put him in for a first season elk tag. So
Oh, there you go.
he should draw the elk tag, maybe 50% odds or something for a third season deer tag, and just new unit. Just
I've
thought I'd
said
check
it
out.
before, and I'm gonna continue to say it. But holy shit, I can't wait till my son is.
Yeah.
Just because it's another added level of hunts to go after.
Yeah, the one
you
thing
know?
he'll be 18 in June, so it's
awesome.
like this is it. Like,
Bro, you have an 18-year-old.
I know.
Holy shit.
Somebody said that to me the other day, and I was like, what? "Oh, Sloan." Yeah, we talked to Sloan.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
That's
Sloan was
crazy.
like, "You have kids?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I have an 18-year-old." And he was like, "What?
It's wild.
18?
You're the
like,
coolest
I don't
40-year-old
know,
dad
man.
I've ever met.
Yeah, 18, 40. Yeah, I'll be 44 this year.
He has a
In
great
November.
mustache.
He's the
today,
best.
too.
He's the coolest 44-year-old
Yeah,
dad
the
on planet Earth.
mustache. I usually start with a beard. I was telling you earlier, but I start with a beard. I let that grow out until it just looks terrible because it's not thick enough. It's not like yours. And then I trim it up, and I usually go to a mustache and a goatee. And then the goatee after a couple days, I'm like, yeah, I don't like that. So I
Didn't
go
go
to a
back.
mustache. I'll rock a mustache for a week, and then it's back to.
So are you gonna?
It's a rotation.
So you're gonna keep this for our hunt?
Yeah, I'll keep the mustache. Sloan has a good mustache.
Hell
I
yeah.
figured I'd have to have a mustache.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, love it.
Yeah. You guys
Trail's got the rolled jeans, the cool shoes.
Yeah, the
It's got great
mustache.
style. The
look at
mustache,
his hat.
the runner's hat.
the hat fits the mustache, right?
Yeah, that's a good style. Renzo's got the rally cap going on now, backwards hat. So
it's
it must
been a day.
It's about 1,000,000 degrees in here.
I know that's was kind of like getting ready, prepared for the hotness.
We're gonna need a cold plunge in here.
We did these open ceilings. I don't know if anybody's ever been to the office. I'm sure they've noticed we did these big like slated open ceilings, which is awesome for the vibe in here, right? Like feels
Yeah, it
good.
looks
We
cool.
were super pumped when we were building this office out. Super not pumped during the summer though.
Yeah,
Just
that's
does
AC
not,
just-
does not cool down.
Yeah, it's hot in here.
Who would have thought, right? Anyways.
So you apply in Utah? So this when this comes out, you'll have 7 days. So Utah
I've-
will be top of mind for most people.
I have not applied yet, but I feel like I have a great strategy going in because that deadline got pushed back so much. So I have had a lot more time to research, Our app strategy articles went out, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, long time ago, well in time for the deadline coming up, but got some points and I'm maybe thinking about, cashing them in.
Elk, antelope. I mean, what are you talking? Elk, antelope, mule deer,
The fair species.
mule deer.
Yes. So hopefully Utah will take my points. Looking at more of those, general season Utah hunts.
I really want my Utah antelope tag. One of these years, man.
Newberg hit me up over the weekend with an email.
About antelope?
Yeah. Him and his kid. I don't know if I should say. They're sitting on a bunch of points.
Yeah, he's told me that before.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I was
sounds like they're
listening to
looking for
that,
opportunities.
His Antelope Talk live the other day.
Yeah.
He was mentioning his Utah points quite a bit.
Yeah,
on
an
that.
outdoor class.
Yeah. I got a pile of points there too for antelope. 15.
He's kind of a antelope nut.
He is.
Oh, he is. He's way more than me.
No,
But him and I get along.
can't be more than you.
He is.
Have you seen
him and
your
I,
antelope wall in there?
I know. But when him and I hunted high country in Wyoming, we were driving Bo absolutely fucking nuts because
Talking
all
about
him and I
antelope.
would talk about was antelope. We're sitting in the high country chasing mule deer, and Bo was getting getting a little frustrated. But we're like, man,
Yeah.
wish we were hunting antelope down in the valley.
The good thing about being a resident in Utah is that I don't know if it's I think it's a good thing. So if a resident in Utah, you have to pick your limited entry species. So I can't apply for limited entry deer, limited entry elk, and limited entry antelope in the same year. I have to pick them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you draw a limited entry species, like I drew elk last year, I'm on a waiting period. So I can't actually apply again for 5 years, right? So in the meantime, I get to apply for antelope or mule deer. And for mule deer, I'm just like, I don't want to chase those units because I can hunt general season units.
Yeah.
If I hunt really hard, I can do pretty good. But there's a ton of antelope units you can draw in Utah as a resident with very few points.
Yeah.
For archery for sure. So I was looking. I think I've got 1 or 2 points from a previous period. That's another thing I like about Utah is that
Keep them.
Yeah, you keep them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't just like cancel them out.
Yeah. They should. I mean, you should be able to keep them.
Yeah, you paid for them, right? You applied for them. So yeah, I think I've got 50-60% odds of drawing an antelope tag, which I'd be so stoked.
And Utah's got some good bucks too,
Yeah.
man. Like Utah, Nevada, a lot of people overlook those for antelope. They're pretty good.
Yep, my only book buck is
Out of Utah?
Yeah, Utah
Yeah.
archery buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overlooked though. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So if I drew that Utah antelope tag, I would be over the moon.
Yeah.
I would be so stoked. Just
No,
that-
I've never killed one with my bow. I
Oh,
really
really?
want to kill one with my bow. Yeah.
Yeah, you should. You would spot and stock or water hole? Would you do water hole?
I don't know.
Or is it
I'm
not the same for you?
It's not the same, but it's definitely the way to kill a big one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, to target one.
So I don't know. I would love to spot and stock them. That's why I like that muzzleload hunt in Colorado so much.
Mm-hmm.
It buys you that extra 20 yards, 100-yard shot. It's doable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super primitive in Colorado for muzzleloader, so it's kind of an archery hunt, but you get that extra 20 yards.
Yep. You got
so
elk points in
anyways.
Utah?
I do, yeah, a lot.
You gonna cash them in?
No, because of the sheep hunt.
Oh, you're still
It put me
you gotta wait.
back to back. Yeah.
Man, I have such a hard time. I always think I'm going to try to wait and like build, points and potentially, but then the draws come up and I start looking at all the various
Yeah.
hunts that are available and I get excited and I start applying. I end up with more permits than I can hunt.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
Definitely not a bad thing.
Yeah. If you can
But
turn
yeah.
them back some places, which you can, it's kind of nice, but
What do you think they're going to eventually do on the technology side in Utah for scoped muzzleloaders? What are you hearing anything about that? Because I know it's not in the the rack notes. It wasn't part
Yeah,
of
I
it right
didn't-
now.
I didn't see
The
it.
rack notes had some change, but it
Yeah.
didn't touch on which is kind of crazy what they're talking about and not the scoped muzzleloaders, but
yeah,
It is
I haven't
what it
heard anything new on scope muzzleloaders, so I don't know if anything's going to become of it. The one that everybody's kind of talking about right now is radio.
Radios, yeah.
that one was pretty blatantly stated.
Yeah, that one's pretty plainly stated.
Yeah.
What's your guys' thought on radios?
I mean, it's
Yeah.
communication. Like
Yeah.
I don't think you can. I find it very hard to police humans on communication.
So do you?
It's just
So
it's
let's take
what
it
we
from
do, right?
Yeah,
like
but let's
we are
take it from
able
a
to communicate.
Yeah, but let's take it from a standpoint of like fair chase and
Yeah.
ethics. And if it was just pure, so take the law enforcement, like enforcing the law off the table. Like
Yeah.
let's say it was, was possible to enforce it. Like, do you think that would you consider it fair chase? What's your opinion?
I don't consider it fair chase.
You
me
don't?
personally.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't see how you could consider a scoped muzzleloader fair chase primitive, but
Mm-hmm.
you could take away a radio and now that's considered fair chase. Like humans are able to communicate, and that is one of our biggest weapons in being successful hunting. It's still not a guarantee, right? Like we've all hunted with radios, right? Like I'm not afraid to say that I've hunted with radios quite a bit, and like still, I mean, you're still in their world trying to get them killed in their house and what they know and they know how to do. You are wildly out performed physically. Like it's just, yeah, I don't know. I think one of our biggest weapons in hunting animals to be successful is communication.
Mm-hmm.
But does it draw a line though? Because it does make it easier to go kill an animal. Like,
definitely helps.
It really does. Like
That-
you can literally
like I
tell
just said.
someone to draw your bow. Animals coming out on a radio. You can literally walk them right in with your own spotting scope.
Yeah, I mean when you start saying like exact examples like draw your bow, he's walking. I mean look. I'm in the park of communication is what humans do, and I don't want to take that away from us. But like you can point at certain ones where there definitely is like a gray area. Where's your kind of moral compass on that one, right? But man, I don't know. Like that's our biggest weapon that we have is being able to communicate with somebody in the glass and somebody going after the animal losing sight.
Yeah. I can think of a bunch of times that I've gone on stalks that, again, because I hunt alone a lot, where I've either got there and the animal's gone, or I've thought the animal was one place and he wasn't, and I made a mistake and screwed up and, buggered him out. But I could definitely see how it would be beneficial. I haven't, it's been a long time since I've hunted with somebody with a radio. I have done it, but it's been like 20 years ago with my dad. So I don't know. I don't know where I land on it. I don't know if it's, I don't know if I think it's unethical, in my opinion, because you're still hunting an animal.
You're still hunting.
You're still hunting an animal. It's not like you're poaching, in my opinion. You're not shooting it out of season. I don't feel unethical about it.
That's the box I'm in. Like you can definitely point to certain, but then I could also point to 1,000-yard shots. Like, right? I mean, if you're gonna police stuff, right, for the benefit of the animal. I mean, if you're taking away radios, then people are going to start taking 800-yard shots instead of trying to get closer to 300. Who knows if that's actually going to happen?
I think it's fairly common for people to use a spotter and then, flagging techniques, So if you look back to your guy and everybody kind of works out hand signals like, hey, he's going this way, he's going that way. You have a flag and hold it up, or, he's sleeping or moving or whatever it is. So like, I think people are, is that unethical? Is it different that you have a radio and an earpiece?
I think it's different because you don't have an earpiece. You're not getting that real-time feedback where you don't have to communicate with someone. You literally can just listen and work yourself right in there, which is part of me is like you're taking away the aspect of the hunt. You're more putting it in your control rather than letting things naturally play out.
I get it. I'm a very understanding person. I see it from the other side. I see your side for sure. I'm in the box of communication is like our key to success. Yeah. That's my stance.
But it sounds like that one will become illegal, right? Or it is.
Yeah. Which is cool. Like it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Doesn't bug me one bit, one way or the other. But I thought it was that's an interesting one. But I haven't heard anything about muzzleloaders.
Yeah, because I was just wondering, like, I could see that going back. Like, I'll be honest. Like, sure, I have a long range gun. Maybe the rifle seasons, anything can go because it's any legal weapon for the most part season. So sure, you could be able to do whatever you want. But when you get to these more primitive weapons, keeping it primitive is probably a good thing. Like my scoped muzzleloader that I built is, when it comes down to it, a single shot rifle. Yeah. I can shoot 400 yards all day with a muzzleloader, which is wild. When you're on a primitive hunt, I would honestly, even though I love long range shooting, love all this stuff, I would prefer it, maybe to go back to that 1X like it used to be, iron sights. Maybe that'll give the deer, I'm talking deer again, a chance to, survive those seasons rather than they getting kind of hammered hard during the muzzleloader hunts, because they are maybe there's some statistics you can look at. Probably should have pulled it up before, but maybe the muzzleloader seasons are getting more harvest success, increasing because of the scope.
Yeah, what's interesting is when I worked for the Division of Wildlife, I remember when this was made legal, like magnified scopes, right? And I remember at the time there was a fair number of us that worked at the division that didn't love, I wouldn't say that we were necessarily for or against it, but we were kind of like, yeah, it kind of sucks, I don't want to really see muzzleloaders have scopes on them, right? And I remember having discussions with other people that worked there at the division, people that were further up the chain than I was. And, a lot of them were like, it's going to make people more ethical. It's going to it's going to make those shots much more, lethal. So you're going to have more accuracy. So in their mind, I think a lot of people thought it was a good thing. And that, but I can see it. But I don't necessarily think people, even when they put that into effect where you could use a magnified scope, I don't think a lot of people were, that was like right on the cusp of like these long range muzzleloaders, people being able to now, I think they were thinking, hey, we're going to put a scope on a muzzleloader that you can still shoot 150 yards, but now you can actually see what you're aiming at. Right. Yeah. But then I don't think we had the foresight to see that people were going to build a muzzleloader that can then shoot 500 yards or 600 yards and accurately. Yeah. So I don't know that was in the mix at the time.
And to go back to the comparison of that with radios, right? Like, that's supposed to be a primitive thing where I would imagine that was their thought coming from the Fish and Wildlife is, it's going to make a 150-yard shot. You can actually see where you're aiming instead of not knowing where,
and losing more animals.
But, with the communication, like you think archery, I mean, you still have to get in there 50 yards. You're still dealing with wind and thermals and sound,
other
and
animals,
movements, and other animals, and all this stuff. Where now you get a muzzleloader, stretch it out to 500 yards. That's out the window, right? Yep. So it's like, you see where I'm coming from on that?
Yeah, and sometimes I think too on the same side. It's like, okay, so you have these muzzleloaders that you can put a scope on. You have inlines. You can be dialed out to 400 or 500 yards. But the percentage of people that might take it to that level is probably pretty slim as well, because you're going to have a cost negative towards building a muzzleloader like that. You have to have the time to go shoot said muzzleloader. So in essence, too, you might think, oh yeah, we all see everyone has it, but realize that we're in a niche circle where we all are really into it. So it might seem like there's a lot more people that have these technology advancements when really they might not, the general public all isn't using inlines, giant turrets, adjustable to be able to shoot 600 yards.
99%, I would say.
Yeah, so there's probably a very few people who have that, and they're still just using their normal muzzleloader with the scope, still shooting 150 yards. So it's hard to, we're in this bubble, and we don't really think outside that bubble a lot.
That's true. You only know what you see, and our network is definitely...
It's a few bad apples like you, Brady, that are pushing it. You're ruining it for the rest of us.
I do.
Yeah,
All I want to shoot is 150 yards with the scope muzzleloader, and you're making it.
and even when they did,
they're taking away my scope.
Yeah, but it brings up a good point, though. Like when they made that change, I remember you killed the buck that year, and you still had a 1X scope on it.
I still have a 1X scope.
Yeah, you still haven't changed.
Yeah, I haven't.
So like
changed.
for you, it's like it works.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So again, though, people could, even though this law says you can do anything, I could roll out there with an iron sight and just make it more challenging for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I honestly still could use a primitive weapon and not go to the crazy level. But yeah, there's a percentage of us who might want to take it to the extreme because it's fun. And then have something that might increase a little bit. Increase success. But like I said too, it increases the confidence. So I can now have the confidence when if it was a 150 yard shot, I can zoom my scope in and I know I'm going to kill that animal. Where before it might have been, because muzzleloaders are still pretty finicky to begin with.
Yeah, and that front sight, I mean, it's not thin.
Isn't it interesting that like the individual complexities that people deal with? Because you have Brady. Brady's the guy that wouldn't mind taking an 800-yard shot on a deer or mountain lion with a rifle, but then Phil's a little bit conflicted about using radios.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so like I'm definitely
it's interesting the internal
in my own
complexities
ways, like
of
what I
every
think
hunter.
is right and what I think is not right.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, huh? I guess it's hard too. It's hard where, I mean, I don't like the way that things are being done currently in Utah. I don't like that bills are being, I don't know. I wouldn't say that they're being completely snuck through, but in some ways they are, right? Those are never hitting the RAC process. They're not hitting the wildlife board. They're just being, written in a bill and then passed through and they're law. Right. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. I mean, Utah a lot of states, to be honest, but Utah specifically, they've gone through this whole process of developing these regional advisory councils. They have scheduled meetings and notes, and the public gets an opportunity to sit, show up and speak their voice. And, that each one of those has a board, if you will, a number of people that are on that. And then you have the wildlife board. And in my opinion, I mean, I think I would like to see that be the way that laws are set versus just ran through a bill. And I don't like that. That bugs me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
Because that's a bad precedence for
future
things.
You just never know.
Anti-hunters.
You could have wolves reintroduced.
Yeah, for sure. Which
I mean, it sets a bad precedence in my opinion, but I don't dig that at all.
And back to the technology side, the muzzleloader versus primitive muzzleloader. It's the same sort of kind of argument a lot of people have too about, archery, compound bows versus recurves. A guy who's a diehard compound person might knock on the recurve because it could be considered less, ethical or, because there is such a greater chance of error using a recurve compared to a compound. So maybe, you're going to wound more animals with something that's more primitive compared to that dude just had a compound bow and was able to make that 33-yard shot perfectly. Mm-hmm. Rather with a recurve at 33 yards, things could be a little bit iffy. So you could say the same sort of argument with the muzzleloaders. Primitive might, have more wounding because it's a more finicky weapon, where the guy just had a adjustable scope and was able to see it clearly, put on a rest, put on a bipod and shoot it, and done deal. So there's a lot of different arguments people can make on all different sides of this subject.
No question. That's why it's like when it comes down to the individual, like you said, it's interesting, the internal conflictions of everyone's thoughts.
Yeah, you kind of got to make your own way, right? Kind of decide what works for you and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how you feel personally about your own, I guess, ethics. I guess I would
Yeah.
say. I would say. I mean, everybody should strive for, quick, efficient kill,
Of
that kind of
course,
thing,
yeah.
or whatever it might be, and to live within the rules. But it is interesting the allowances that you make within yourself, and then other things are just a no-no, like radios.
Like radios.
Or even,
You're a Montana guy, though.
Yeah,
I came from that where
Montana
it
was
it's
always
never
like that,
allowed.
yeah.
Yeah.
you hippies in Montana.
But then again, like, where do you draw the line? Okay, radio communication is not allowed, but what about if I want to text Trail a photo
Exactly.
of where he's at on the mountain
That's where
compared
my
to where the
mind
deer,
goes.
and I can literally take that photo, I can screenshot it, I can take the little draw tool, I can draw on there, you're here, deer's here, and send them that. So that's also not too. It's kind of I guess a two-way communication. 'Cause I'm communication in, but it's not real time. Where
It's
do you
not
draw
real
a line
time.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what about taking your cell phone out of your pocket before you go on a stalk and you take a picture of the landscape, and then you take a marker on your photo and mark where that buck or bull is bedded, and then off you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that didn't exist 20 years ago either.
And it exists in
So
spades now.
yeah, I mean, everybody does that. In fact, it's highly touted. That is a tactic you
It's a
should
tactic,
use.
yeah.
Like, I mean, you're dumb if you don't.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing that's conflicting. And you say I'm on board with this, but not on board with that. Like I'm fine with that stuff, but the real time radio is where in my head I'm getting across the line of is it ethical or not. But again, those tools are available, and sure, I'll use the photo thing, dropping waypoints, recording a video, even zooming in, zooming out, getting the whole lay of the land, like.
The best thing about radios is when you got a cheap set of radios and you're close to a highway, and you
pick up on everyone on a road trip.
You pick up on all the truckers talking back and forth.
Got ourselves a convoy.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Well, I used to do a lot of shed hunting. We'd all have radios. You keep in touch with my brother. Hey, you find anything? No, but you'd always have truckers down in the canyon talking.
So funny.
That was always comical.
Because the whole two-way thing, to keep going on that, like you can do that right now in an inReach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can inReach to inReach, and I could share an exact location. Like, hey, I saw an animal here. I can share him the exact UTMs through an inReach and do the same sort of random communications through there, even though it's not as real time because it takes a little bit for that satellites to send your message. But like, there's a lot of ways people can do it.
Yeah.
Now.
I mean, like I said, I believe the human species' biggest strength is the ability to quickly and clearly communicate. Like that's what we have, what we're capable of.
That's radios is one of these things. It's in a gray area, right? I mean, some people might not see it as ethical. Some people do. This is one of those situations, in my opinion, where I think it ought to be left up to the vote of the public.
Exactly.
I think this is one that should be voted on by the people, not a person or
not just
a
decided
group
by an
of senators or
individual,
legislators that decide, we don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think this should be the actual people that are out in the field have an opportunity to voice their opinion and yay or nay.
And if they go to Montana style, like, okay, cool. Then that's what it is.
So be it.
If it gets voted on like that, all right. Then
I would
that's
feel
what
much
it is.
better about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting though. We'll see what happens, I
interesting.
guess. Yeah. Speaking of Utah, do you guys want to talk about snowpack? You want to talk about survival?
Oh, we should dive
That's
into that.
the big news. Everybody's talking about the weather, survival.
Yeah, you pulled a bunch of data into this.
Yeah,
That's
I was
really
looking
cool.
at it earlier. So people have been asking. I've had a bunch of DMs. People asking, "Hey, should I apply in Utah, Southwest Wyoming, Idaho?" And I would say, looking at the information, I'll talk a little bit about Utah, but we'll dive into Western Wyoming and kind of run through some of the survival and just statistics that I'm hearing. So Utah, and I pulled this. I apologize. I should have talked to Randy. So this is Randy Larson from BYU. He works at BYU, does some.
Shout out Randy.
Randy's a good dude. But he put some stuff out via social media and just kind of ran through. This is some of the collar data that they've pulled. And this is for survival. And again, Utah has a very robust collar study that they've got going on. So as you look down through this, they have adult female doe survival, box elder, northwestern Utah there, which is kind of mostly rolling sagebrush, oak, that kind of stuff. 90%, cash, 83%, so which is actually higher.
We're talking about survival.
Survival, yeah, 83% survival.
Of those collared.
Of those collared. And I should say that. I mean, this is a sample, so it's not like foolproof, but it's a sample.
But I'm sure they have the right sample size so they can kind of extrapolate.
It's definitely enough of a...
They're learning some information.
They can extrapolate off that.
It's probably statistically significant in some sort of way.
Yep. So cash, which I'd been up to Logan to visit my parents, and I was surprised. I mean, to see 83%, 83, and this is from probably a week and a half, 2 weeks old, I guess. But we're kind of the tail end of March, which we should have started to trip over into, warmer temperatures and things starting to green up. As you look down through this, you kind of see Morgan South Rich, 33%.
Ooh.
So you're talking like that Wasatch back country. You're talking basically the Wasatch Front if you're driving up I-15, the back side of that range. So that's that Morgan Rich country. Wallsburg is kind of, what's the name of that town? Just south of Park City. It runs to Heber. So Heber country, that's that Wallsburg kind of country. You're talking 20% survival.
20%.
20%. This is adult female does.
20%.
20%. Yeah, and those are kind of the most notable as you run down through the list. I thought it was really interesting as you look through a bunch of the units. You're talking basically everything from, like the Manti 84% survival, Nebo 83%. That kind of sits in the center of the state. But you get south of that country, you get down into like the Beaver, the Monroe, Panguitch Lake, Boulder, Pine Valley, 90+%.
So awesome.
95% on the Monroe, 94% survival on the Panguitch Lake, 91% on the Pine Valley, 95 on the Zion.
Wow.
So you're actually seeing like record, really, really high adult doe survival, especially in those southern units. And, one thing I will say is I drove down this morning. Yesterday there in Cedar City was like 62 degrees. All that snow in the low country is pretty well dissipated.
Really?
Yeah. Sagebrush looks healthy.
Is it greened up at all?
It's greened up a ton.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Just like that. It's so crazy how quick.
One good sunshine.
Just a few days of sunshine. Yeah. It just pops. Just green grass starting to grow.
It's awesome.
I should note, fawn survival, which is interesting. Cash 8% survival for fawns. So your fawns are dying. 8% survival.
8%.
What's you being ex biologist?
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that? It's going to be a hard hit in 4 years, 3 years?
3 to 4. So essentially as you look down through the 6-month fawn survival, there's some pockets where it's pretty good, but again, kind of that same country, Wasatch back, northern Utah is where you're getting hit, and you're getting hit with your fawns, right? So essentially what's going to happen is you've got that delay. So, you're not having those animals recruited into the population. So you're
essentially going to be missing an entire age group.
Essentially missing that group. So you're going to have, provided... What really happens is like when you have back-to-back years or 2 or 3 years of, either hardcore drought or hardcore winter and drought combined, that's when you really start to see like massive die-off. Whereas if you have a year like this where you've got a pretty hard winter, it's going to yield better forage and a better range going into the summer. So those animals that do survive, like the adult does that have fawns in June, they're going to be healthy, and those fawns should be healthy. Like they should be born healthy. And you should have pretty decent recruitment going forward, provided Mother Nature does her job and she doesn't dump a bunch of snow and cold weather next year or drought. But yeah, essentially you're missing that age class for that year for, perpetuity. So that's why when I talk about Wyoming, for example, tons of people talk about G&H. What should I do with my points for G&H? Or, everybody's looking at it. Well, it's like you either go this year or you wait 4 years.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be missing that age class.
Because going next year, those deer aren't going to be there.
Do you think it's a risk going this year with how it's sitting right now? A weighted risk?
Yeah, I looked a little bit at Wyoming, that western Wyoming, the Wyoming range. Kind of what I'm hearing is like 50% mortality. I'm hearing as much as like 90% for fawns. So you're talking 50% of your adult does, and again, they don't have nearly the number of animals collared there that they do in Utah. Yeah. So it's much less of it's more of a snapshot, if you will. But let's say it's 40-50%. That's a bunch of adults that are going to die. But in my opinion, you're still going to have those 2, 3, even 4-year-old bucks that probably made it, that are going to make it. And I think there's going to be some big bucks this year just because there'll be good feed on the back end of it. Mm-hmm. So I still think it'd be a decent year to have a tag in either G or H. But as that goes forward, like I said, you're missing that age class. Yeah. So you're going to have you're going to want to wait a few years, 4 years.
Couldn't you say too that there's going to be more feed available for the deer that do survive? Because there'll be a little bit less competition too in some of these summer ranges. So like I said, the potential for antler growth could be pretty good, the ones that do survive.
Yeah, we'll talk about antler growth here in a sec, because I had some ideas about it. I was just curious. Yeah. I wanted to either debunk or confirm some myths, the things that you hear about antler growth. But
I have the snow water equivalent map pulled up on my computer in Utah right now. In southwestern Utah, so like, Zion, Pine Valley, 311% of the 20-year
holy shit
average.
80-year high. 80-year high in Utah, they're saying.
Yeah. So like look across the state too, like the lowest one right now is 189%.
Wow.
But like, you got the Wasatch 224, just out there 228. Like there's some 272s, a couple other 300s. Like the whole state is blue.
That's crazy.
You compare that to years prior, it paints a different picture,
Yeah, no question.
It's something
years prior, very ugly the opposite way.
Yeah.
And it paints a picture too. What was I going to say about that? Come back to me on that. I had a thought, but I lost it.
I was going to run down through here real quick, just hit some other units as far as 6-month-old fawn survival. South Slope, which is again northern Utah, the UN is 43%, was one of the lower ones. Again, though, you start to look at a lot of those southern Utah units. The Pine Valley, 84% survival. Monroe, 85%, and these are fawns, 6-month, 8-month-old fawns. The average, this is interesting. So he suggested that the average survival for adult female deer is about 82%, and the average for fawns is about 50%. So you can see what, like a Monroe at 85% survival rate when average is typically 50. You got some potential there to really grow some deer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and then you're going to have does going into the summer, pregnant does, having fawns that are going to be should be born healthy, and it could be really good things. That's the thing about this is like you talk winter kill. Yeah, it sucks in pockets. And we're primarily talking like that 3 corners area, Utah, Wyoming, Idaho.
Yep.
You're going to see some winter kill, and definitely you're seeing a bunch of pronghorn dies, mule deer, elk are doing awesome. So
they are doing awesome.
I mean, relatively speaking, I've seen some pretty ugly looking elk in people's, pictures and posts. I mean, just sunk in back straps and hips. So, they're not perfect, but they're making it right. But yeah, I mean, I think we all paint a picture of like doom and gloom when it comes to winter kill, and definitely there are pockets, but we also, the backside of that is the potential for some real good. I mean, improved summer ranges that we probably haven't seen in God knows how long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there is kind of a silver lining when you think about it that way.
But we're not, that thing I was going to mention before, but we're not totally out of the clear.
No.
Like April can be a really scary month, and even that early part of May, like if we get some more of this heavy weather, snow, freeze, like we're not out of it.
Yeah, I was reading one article talking about why April is kind of the make or break, right? And you think about April, typically I think of you guys. I'm sure you think of sunshine, every 100-degree days, right, in April down here. But I mean April. Why would April be such a hard time? And I think it's because of the freeze thaw, right? So you've got deep snows, you have warm temperatures that warm up, thaw, and then freezes hard again at night, and it makes it hard for those animals to, paw down, get through the crust, and it just expends a bunch of energy. So I think that's why April could still be a make or break in some areas. But I mean, southern Utah, Manti South, I think it's going to be a banner year. I think it's going to be good growth and good for the deer herd and elk herd.
Yeah. So then speaking on Utah specifically still, do you think since the app deadline got pushed back, so obviously it was pushed back way before we knew this winter was going to be bad.
But don't say what I think you're going to say.
Do you think we're going to have people jumping to these lower part of the Utah to apply in these southern units compared to northern part of the state because of that? Because knowing that, winter kill could be heavy up here. I'm not going to burn my point this year. I have some points built up. I'm going to move south and hunt the southern units this year, which then could involve some point creep going up with people who do have points. And on the flip side, the people who burned their points last year, now they're wishing they had enough points to get some tags down south. So what are they going to do? Wait out or move north?
It's a good question. I know what I would do.
Yeah, I think you will.
Yeah.
And I think, historically, those southern units have always been more popular anyway, just because it's got better habitat, less people generally.
Yeah.
There's not the Wasatch Front with people absolutely everywhere.
Flat bills.
Yeah, flat billers. Yeah. I better put a little more curve in my own, right? But yeah, I think there is a potential, especially when you look at non-resident applicants, right?
Yeah.
Like if they're going to come from out of state and hunt, I mean, and why would they apply for the Cache when they could apply for the Pine Valley?
Yeah.
Or, the Pinkwich Lake.
Yeah. I didn't really want to bring it up, but I felt like I always have to.
I
always have to talk about everything.
Did.
Morally, I'm obligated to talk about it.
I know what I would do.
Yeah, I know what I would do.
Definitely go south.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah, so might see that.
Yeah,
Especially with the later app deadline, people can, utilize more of this data now, which is going to be beneficial as well. You get the bigger picture thing like we always talk about. Yeah,
I know what Brady would do.
Go for
He'd
elk?
go to the hardest part because no one's going to be there.
No one's going to be there.
Yeah. I was going to hit a couple more stats. You got total collars for mule deer, adult does in Utah, 955. Statewide survival rate right now, 83%. It's a pretty damn high still.
Yeah.
Elk. Do you want to talk about elk? 96% statewide.
Whew.
Survival. 563 collars. Elk are just so good.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome, Brady. And then antelope. So antelope, 92% survival rate, which is still pretty high. They have 157 collars out, 13 mortalities. Most of those mortalities from northern Utah. Again, you talked about Morgan, South Ridge country, where you've got some high elevation sagebrush with some antelope in it. But
do you think they'll ever expand some of this collar studies to do some more of these units in Utah? Because I know they don't cover everything. Since it comes with the cost, or if it's a valuable
I think
area.
they will. I think as you see that data come back, I think the more useful. I mean, it's when it's used to make management decisions, and essentially you have hunters are your customer base. I think the better results or the better the feedback you get from your customer base based on your recommendations from callers, I think the more the ability to put more callers out and gain better information.
Do you know how that's funded? Like, why does Utah do so much more of it?
I think a lot of it's funded through, it may be funded through some of it through like WRI, and some of it's probably just funded through general funds. But I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on it. But
yeah, I'm wondering, like, why they're doing such a good job and everybody else,
I think they got to a point where they were like, you know what, we're running a lot of our modeling on data that's, gained from studies that have been done 20 or 30 years ago from different states. We just want localized information. We want to be able to put it back into our own modeling. And people are, when you look, when the proposed tag numbers come out, there were a lot of people that were upset. If you look at the Pine Valley, I think it was 1,000 permit increase. It's a lot more deer tags on the Pine Valley. Not everybody's pumped about it.
Yep.
That's a lot more.
There's a lot more. There's a lot of people that are like, man, we just got a good thing going. We got a good deer herd growing. We've got some age class to it. Why go in and just absolutely smoke it?
Yeah, that's quite the increase.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant increase. So it's not everybody's excited.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see the rack process. The tag proposals that came out, I think they came out on the 4th of April. It will go through a round of rack meeting proposals. So you'll have an opportunity to show up to a rack and people will get a chance to see that, speak their piece, and then they'll vote and run with those proposed tag numbers. But I'll be interested. I'm going to run. I'm going to go see what it's like, see the rack meeting.
See the depths of Utah.
That's one of my favorites. Show up with, a cup of coffee, sit back and just listen. Get some popcorn and watch people go.
It is interesting because this is the 5th year in a row that Utah has decreased the number of general season deer permits too. Mm-hmm. They're saying right now the population's at 335,000 deer, which is below the objective of 404,000. Mm-hmm. So 5th year in a row we've seen decrease on general, and this year's 1,400 something decrease overall on the general. It's interesting.
That is interesting.
I think it's just pockets, and I think in the long term, it's like I said, a hard winter like this, it sucks for pockets. But I think on the whole, if you get some years you string them together where you've got decent summer moisture, you're going to have summer ranges that are in good shape. Those deer are going to come into the winter in good body condition because they'll come off a summer range. It's, good feed, high protein. And then, potentially if you get you get 100%, maybe you don't get 300%, but maybe you get 100%, 125% of annual precip next year, and maybe the year after, like you're going to grow some deer, especially through those southern ends of the state.
Yeah.
So
No question.
Pretty cool. I'm actually really optimistic. I did want to touch on kind of Wyoming, what I'm hearing. You're talking kind of that Pinedale country, the Wyoming range. You're talking the Wind Rivers, the Red Desert for antelope, south central Wyoming. They're talking 50% or more, and as much as 90% of their fawn crop being dusted.
Ugh.
So
it's going to be a hard thing for someone who has some antelope points.
Yeah. And I've also looked at some proposals for Wyoming Game and Fish. It'll be interesting to see, but they're talking about shortening seasons. So general G&H.
Yeah, I was looking at that yesterday.
Cutting those back.
Those down to 400. I think it was.
Yep. And then also limiting the number of days for the rifle days. So
I'm a fan.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I mean, sometimes Mother Nature deals you a tough hand, and you got to kind of react. And
that's all you can do.
Yeah.
At least the states are being proactive instead of continuing.
Just letting it go. See how we end up. Oh, we'll just see how we end up afterwards.
This will make me wildly popular in Wyoming, which non-residents are already. But you could consider, if you're listing Wyoming Game and Fish, putting your residents on a quota.
I saw a comment. I think on one of our
throwing
articles
that out
there. Yeah.
Instead of having those completely OTC where you hunt anywhere you want in the state. But just throw it out there.
That would be very proactive of the state
just dishing it.
You lost some friends there, I think, on the internet.
Oh, well. Wyoming, man. Wyoming. I don't know what the deal is. I love Wyoming. It's like probably one of my very favorite states to hunt, but they're making it rough on non-residents.
Yeah.
Making it tough. Seems like they're constantly kicking around ideas on how to
lock us out even more.
Lock us out a little bit.
We already can't hunt wilderness, but I can fly fish and take a photo and hike. But
yeah.
I mean, that's not a wound of Brady's.
That's just a sore subject.
Yeah.
All right,
it's an interesting one.
I'm going to hit you guys with some other stuff I was interested to talk about today. Let's talk about antler growth.
Yep.
So I hear some things all the time.
Yeah.
When you come to a winter like this, right? So you got a hard winter. I hear, the animals that make it, I hear, man, it's going to be a banner growth year, right? Because you got tons of moisture, tons of good feed, protein. It's going to be a just absolute bomber antler growth year. I also hear people saying, no, it's not going to be a great year because green up was delayed. Typically those ranges start to green up. Your early greens are your highest protein, forage. So essentially that those animals are delayed and that you don't get the antler growth.
Yeah, because they have to try to replenish the nutrients they've lost
replenish it
before they can put that towards antlers.
What's your take, Lorenzo? And I want to take this from a standpoint as a guy that's hunted a lot. Think back on the years that you've hunted. Think about snowpack. Think about moisture. You tell me what your opinion is based on your history with hunting. I'm curious.
What I've heard?
Just what you've heard and also what you think personally. So I know you've killed some. So I'm curious because I know you've killed some bucks.
Yeah.
I know you've hunted in Utah quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot. That's probably the state I've hunted the most.
Yeah. You've also hunted Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've hunted a lot of deer. You've hunted elk. You've killed a lot of big animals,
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to, and your family, right?
Yeah.
And you guys have hunted on years where growth seems to have been better and years where growth hasn't been great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just curious as to your take on what makes a good antler growth year. Just based on your observation.
Yeah, based on just strictly observation and not talking to people who actually know who've told me the truth.
No, I think this is bro science.
Yeah,
right?
this is the bro science of it.
Part of it is.
One drought year has never seemed to affect antler growth and what I've seen and what we've seen, my family and the property up there, all that stuff. When you string multiple years together, it definitely starts to make an impact. Mm-hmm. And then one good water year doesn't always pop the next year. You would think, right? I mean, it's
like instant feed.
Yeah, typical
back
bro science. You would think, really good feed, super good water year. And when it happens, just one year, it doesn't seem to do overly well, right? But I
was thinking about the ponds. What year? Do you remember? I'm trying to think what year the ponds absolutely blew up. 17. Which was post pretty good winter, right?
Very good. Yeah.
Very good winter.
2 good winters in a row.
Two in a row. Similar to this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe a little less than this year, right? As far as that goes.
A little less than this year,
but that
but 2
unit
good
blew
winters
up.
like absolutely blew up. There was so many big deer on. You couldn't not see a big deer.
Yeah, it went from being like, 180 inch buck, you definitely don't turn down, to now you're just driving around looking at 190 inch bucks.
Yeah, and just wanting to kill his buddy that you saw 2 days ago. That's way bigger, noticeably way bigger.
I'm trying to remember. I wanted to say there was, God, I can't remember. Don't quote me on it, but I want to say there were like 20 archery tags or 18, and I want to say like 12 people of the 18 or 20 killed a 200 inch buck.
Yeah, it was a nuts year. That's the year that clunk buck was out there, though. That famous one that David Verosco and his hunter killed. That's the year that, I mean, it was insane. And it was two really good water years.
2 good years back to back.
Back to back.
So you're thinking we might not see it this year, but if we had something similar?
I'm just speaking like in past history, what I've noticed is like it's always the 2-year thing. Like if you get 2 in a row, it's either the 2 bad is going to equal bad or the 2 good is going to equal good. Not so much like, oh, it was a horrible drought year. If it was just the one, but you're coming off a good previous winter the year before, then it didn't really seem to affect much, right? Like, I mean, maybe did it affect it 20%, maybe, like, but it's just not really noticeable. Yep. Whereas the 2 years in a row, it was like wildly noticeable.
So Nevada, a year ago, Nevada was as bad as
it's ever been.
It's been, right, for mule deer. I mean, I talked to a bunch of guides and outfitters, people that had tags that were pretty pessimistic about the potential for decent antler growth that year.
It was about as bad as it's ever been.
And that was based on pretty much 2 years worth of drought, right?
3.
Yeah,
2 to 3.
Quite a few years.
Yeah.
What's the outlook, do you think, you got a year like this in Nevada where your major mountain ranges, and Nevada's an interesting state because you got mountain ranges, and then you've got these giant valley bottoms that are mostly just sagebrush and, grassland. But like, what are you hearing as far as like outlook in Nevada?
Phenomenal
this year
because of the carryover the last little bit too. That's what this gets into, a variable that's like, it's very hard to track, right? You can track snow, water levels, and melt off and green out. You can track all that stuff. But like the one thing that's super variable is the amount of carryover from bucks that weren't killed. Like bucks that were either passed or, a good pine nut year coming off of a good water year, and it kept bucks in the trees. That's what happens in Nevada a lot of the time, right? When you're hunting this lower desert stuff that's just covered in trees, the juniper jungle. But
the flip side of that, though, is you can't have big deer if there wasn't deer to begin with.
Correct.
So was the population knocked back enough? I know a lot of people didn't even find deer in a lot of units in Nevada last year, like not even seeing deer. I think that's a different story.
Yeah,
entirely.
that's a different discussion.
I think that's a different story entirely. But like the name brand units in central Nevada and southern Utah, like the 2 year, like I was saying, is kind of the thing. But then the hard part is the variable of the carryover, right? Like when bucks when you don't have we all know the networks of people that are out there hunting the giants, right? The guided networks, and then we all know the big names out there that are always chasing big animals on tags every single year. Yeah. When they go a bunch of years in a row not killing, that's presumably there's really good carryover of age class bucks that have the genetic potential. They just need a little bit of help in
they need feed,
body composition and feed, and and then all of a sudden there's a good year. So the outlook in Nevada this year seems to be really good, just based on the general carryover from what people are anecdotally talking about, and then also obviously the actual hard data of the water. I mean, there's no replacement for water in the desert. I mean, that's the most simple bro science on the planet.
Yeah.
And the water should provide the feed. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I was writing the Utah application strategy article, I did a little reading. I looked back and I'd read some studies that, and I think Dax had talked about it when we had him on the podcast. He said that, what did he say? Fat moms produce big bucks, right?
Yeah, he very plainly pointed, which I've heard in the past, but he broke it down just ultra simple for even a guy like me to understand. It just entirely comes down to the body composition, the body fat. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, so a big doe produces a big fawn. Big fawns have
healthy fawn.
Have the potential to grow big antlers over perpetuity. So their lifespan. So I went back and I looked, and it's interesting that you say this. Like I think back on the Ponsagot, right? So you said 19. Is that right? 18, 19 was the year that the ponds kind of blew up.
17 it
17,
started, and then
18,
18, 19. Yeah, it
18.
was on fire.
Yeah. So, I mean, that year, suggesting that antler development was good based on water. And this kind of confirms the same thing that I was found in like 18, 19, 19, maybe even rolling into 20. Those does that produce fawns should have produced healthy, big fawns.
Yeah.
Then you roll that forward 4 years, which I think it's 95, 96% of a mule deer buck's antler growth potential is reached by 4.5 years old, 4.5 to 5 years old. That rolls us right into 2023 this fall. So the potential,
Really?
yeah. So the potential certainly exists this year in, throughout southern Utah,
Big gold nugget just dropped.
Nevada, for the potential to have, fawns that now turned into 4.5-year-old bucks that should produce big antlers. So that coupled with a good moisture year, good winter snowpack. And I think I read that, I think it's like, 85?
Actually, I want to correct that. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was wrong. I just went back in my camera roll because you saying that it's 19 is the year that it
19.
blew up when they killed Clunk. And
So it would have been 19, 18, 19, 19, 20.
Yep. So
Good, decent water years.
19 was on fire,
Yeah.
like absolutely on fire.
So that's what I'm saying. So Fawn's born in 19.
Yeah. So my apologies. I
2019,
was off.
June of 2019 will now be what, 4.5? Is that right?
Yeah.
4.5, which 95, like I said, 95% of your antlers growth develops by a 4.5-year-old, 5.5-year-old buck. That puts us in a window where the potential for big, healthy fawns that were born then now have the potential to grow big, healthy racks, being a 4.5, 5-year-old buck. So I'm actually pretty excited. That's one thing about writing these app strategy articles is I look back through all this kind of information. I'm trying to consider the potential for what exists in some of these units. You start looking at water years and when fawns were born. Man, I'm pretty excited about 2023 in the fall and what might potentially exist.
So you're hoping for a deer tag?
Yeah, deer tag.
Not elk?
Yeah, I mean elk. I'd like to hunt elk. I like hunting elk. Yeah, that was another interesting thing when I was looking through. So Utah, part of their elk management plan, the 10-year plan. When I went through that, a bunch of studies again done in conjunction with BYU, they found that 90 some percent of a bull elk, their growth potential is achieved by 6. So they've actually adjusted the age class structure of their elk management plan to kind of bring that more in line with growth and when it's achieved. Because I think what they were finding is that you've got elk on the landscape, bulls that exist on the landscape that could be harvested. They're essentially surplus, right? Because you got a bunch of old bulls or older than 6 that are never going to get any bigger, probably. So you might as well harvest them at 6 and issue a few more permits and work a few more people through the process. It's probably going to eliminate some of those gigantors,
Yeah.
In my opinion. You probably see a little bit of the trophy potential come down overall, but I don't know. And I think it's a good thing. Get more people out. Get them hunting.
I agree.
So, yeah. I did more on the antler debate, not the debate, but I don't know if it's a debate
I'm going
or
through
not.
my camera roll right now. The San Juan was on fire. Nevada was good, not on fire.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, 19 was a year for sure.
Yeah. And you got to assume if that was a good year for antler growth, it's been a decent water year, which also, like I said, that's going to yield healthy does, healthy fawns.
Yep.
And then those fawns, bucks, now they've got 4 or 5 years under their belt, and they should have the ability, the body composition, hopefully, to grow big antlers on a good water year.
So again, it's not always doom and gloom.
Not always doom and gloom. No.
No.
I was gonna touch. So I reached out to Jim Heffelfinger.
That's the best name ever.
Shout out to Jim. Hopefully he doesn't mind me kind of sharing this, but I kind of shared with him the ideas that I'd had about antler growth and kind of what I hear, and asked him some questions. And since he's kind of the mule deer, he might be the real mule deer Jesus. Sorry,
He is.
Sorry.
Legit. No joke.
Does he have long hair though and a beard?
He does have a beard.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got the beard. But yes, I kind of asked him. just like interesting antler facts he pointed out. I'd asked him like, what's the time length? So like when an animal sheds, either a buck or bull, because essentially you always hear like, oh, they immediately start growing, right? So he said it's typically about 2 weeks. So you've got like a scab that forms over once that's shed, and then about 2 weeks they start regrowth. And mule deer about 1/4 inch a day, elk up to 1 inch a day. I'd ask him, so like on a year like this, when you've got bulls or bucks that might be potentially coming out of the winter not in the best body condition, like what that could do. I'd asked him what I thought it might be for antler growth, because I've always heard that elk and deer will essentially pull calcium from secondary, so like bones, ribs, other bones in their body to put into antler growth. And so I was kind of wondering, like, if an animal's not in the best body condition coming out of the winter, what's that going to do for, antler development? He said that antler growth is definitely secondary to body condition. So they're going to take care of body condition first and then pump that into antlers after the fact. So in that case, delayed green up on a year like this in some of those areas that have got heavy snow and they don't have a lot of forage, there is the potential, and it would make sense that antler development may suffer a little bit in those areas.
Yeah, because they're hurting now. They got to put it
Makes
towards the
total
body.
sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that was interesting.
Wouldn't it be nice if the antler was first to the body? Just joking. Just joking. Want them healthy and living first.
It'd be like
obviously.
a buried ground caribou, just giant antlers and small body.
Just tiny little bodies, scraggly little bodies.
Like a jackalope.
Can I give him another little plug real quick?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram. He's a great follow on Instagram. And I can't remember what it was, a couple months ago, he announced he has another book coming out.
Nice.
I've already pre-ordered it. I suggest if you're really interested in mule deer, blacktail type stuff, you should pre-order his book. His new book is called Ecology and Management of Black-tailed and Mule Deer of North America. You can pre-order it now. It's going to ship end of April.
Sounds like a book right up Brady's alley.
It's 5. I believe it's roughly like 600 pages.
I looked to see how much it costs. It's like $112. Looks like on Amazon or some different, and that's hardback. Looks like you can buy it ebook if you want it. You can even buy it as an audio book, I thought.
Oh,
did Brady, he read the audio?
I thought that'd be right up. I don't know. That would be pretty funny. He could.
That'd be awesome.
He would do a good job.
Yeah, but that's going to be a phenomenal book. I have another book of a similar title that was published quite a few years ago. A bunch of like Nebraska studies and a bunch of other mule deer studies in there, and it was really, really good. I'm super excited about this book.
It's awesome.
That's a book.
We
if you're
need
a mule deer
book.
junkie, you should pre-order it now. Like I said,
that'll be the Bible for mule deer hunting, huh?
Yep, that's going to be a golden one. Because I always say too, like Trail loves biology, I love biology. Like you can listen, talk about hunt stories all the time, but when you really get down into the nitty gritty details, the information that you can really gather that's going to benefit your hunts, it comes from biology. It really does.
No question. I agree. Can't argue science.
Goes into e-scouting, goes into where you hunt, why you hunt it, how you hunt it. Like really everything is rooted in biology. It's how to become a better hunter.
Some people on this planet believe you can argue science, but I say nay. Science is, can't argue. Biology and science.
Yep. So going back, I would say, this is just generally speaking, people have asked, what do I do in Wyoming with my deer and antelope points? I would say for deer, either it depends on how many points you got, but if you got the points for a G or an H or one of the more highly sought after permits, I would say either burn them this year and go, or potentially think about waiting a few years.
Yeah.
And see what happens, see what Mother Nature dishes out, and see what the age class looks like.
It's that scary thought though. Okay, you're waiting, you have the points.
Yeah.
What's going to happen 4 years from now? Is the same cycle going to repeat itself?
And like what's in my mind too is hearing it from Dax and hearing it from Jim, like about body composition, antler growth is secondary, like could be fairly rough in some of these areas coming into, later into
some
the summer.
pockets it might not be the best year. It may not be. I would think that Wyoming range G and H, you probably see a few less, trophy caliber bucks. Certainly you're going to have higher mortality than you normally would. And you're also probably not going to see a banner growth year because the body condition on those animals just won't be as good of a start. Won't give them that much of a start. So antelope, I don't know. It's tough for antelope.
I'm sitting on a pile of points and I was thinking about taking my dad, but my gosh, I'm thinking about unfortunately waiting.
Yeah.
The man of all men for antelope is that Eli Grimmett or
you're talking
however you
Pronghorn
pronounce it. Yeah. Pronghorn Guide Service. That guy, he's got so much data and charts that he puts out about
that guy's
antelope growth.
Yeah.
And I don't want to misquote him, but I'm confident in remembering he said it's all about the year they were born, because that builds the foundation of their core that the horn actually grows off of. So it's about the health of the year they were born. Were they born in a drought year or a good feed year? And that's what it all stems off of.
Yep.
Big antler core or big horn core, and then they'll grow bigger horns.
That was also part of that Utah study they did looking at pronghorn, and they I took like a little subtle poke at Utah, but and it's probably true, but they said essentially, a buck has reached his potential about 3 years. So they started to increase the number of pronghorn permits available for bucks because they essentially had a surplus, which now they're essentially saying the same thing for elk. They're hitting it at 6, and I took a little subtle poke at them just in my app strategy. I don't even know. I leave Easter eggs sometimes in app strategy.
I love it. That's great.
Oh, he does. Trust me.
Yeah. Sometimes I use Brady's name.
He uses my name in the app strategy. I'm like, I was editing it, and I'm like, what's he talking about?
I check him to see if Brady's actually reading him, but I took a little subtle poke that just saying, hey, here's a running theme. Animals hit trophy potential at an earlier age than what we all thought, so we can issue more permits in Utah. Yeah. Whether it's, I'm sure that's true, but yeah, maybe not.
We'll see.
I don't know. I kind of believe their studies. Yeah. I mean, we talked early on another podcast about, Nevada collecting all the data, the age of the bulls, the main beam length, and a lot of that tends to suggest the same type of thing. It's kind of that 6 to 8 year old window.
Yeah.
Which is younger than I used to think. I used to think it was like 8 to 10.
Yeah. Do you think it should be set in hunting law that to have to collect more data on the animals that are killed?
I think it's cool, and I think it makes better management. And maybe
clearly it has to make better management. I mean, the more data, the better management.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, in saying that, it costs a lot of money to do something statistically interesting and meaningful with that data. I mean, I'm a geek, so I think it's awesome. Obviously, I think it. When we talked about Nevada earlier, and I go through all the data that they supply, for me, I think it makes me a much more educated hunter as far as what units I want to apply for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not everybody either. There's probably a lot of people that could care less.
Yeah. Like I always, talk about Montana and the wish that I have of mandatory harvest reporting of their deer.
Yeah.
Like,
I think harvest reporting should be mandatory.
It's so easy nowadays. It's like, I understand back in the day when you could still apply on paper, people, live out in the middle of nowhere, Montana, not going to be able to go there. But now when you have to apply online to buy it, or when you go to purchase your license and purchase it in person, if you're a resident, they ask you that question like they would ask you about migratory waterfowl. Did you hunt migratory waterfowl? How many days? Whatever.
Exactly.
Like they could ask you those questions when you purchase your license. Yes, you have to pay someone to analyze said data and collect all the data afterwards, but you're still paying those random people to give me a random phone call at Sunday night at 8:00 at night when
always the worst time.
Worst time.
Always
and it's
the
like
worst
if we could have
times.
mandatory stuff and get more data, like was it a 4-point, was it a 3-point? How many days of effort did you put into it? Like that's cool data.
Don't you think it's so generational? Like it's so antiquated that somebody would call you up and try to collect your data, and most people are not going to take that call, even if they feel okay about, myself included. I'm not going to take a phone. Typically, I'm like, I just worked a full day. I don't want to talk to somebody and do a harvest survey over the phone. Versus if I had the ability to log onto my computer, do it in my own time, I would do it.
I would do it every time.
I don't have any problem with that at all.
Yeah.
But somebody calling on my phone feels so invasive at this point. It's such an antiquated way to collect data.
I know Porter might be the only person I know that will answer his phone from a number that he doesn't have.
Oh, I never do.
Doesn't text him. Like if you're calling me from a number that I don't have saved in my phone and you don't text me to follow up, I'm not.
Me either.
I'm not even looking at it.
Yeah. Me neither. And even sometimes not a lot.
even after that, sometimes.
Just depends on what I got going on. Yeah. Anyway, good, interesting information. I thought that would be good to run through because, like I said, everybody is talking about the weather. Everybody's talking about antler growth and the potential for the year. Utah, we've talked a lot about Utah. And like I said, that app deadline will be coming up in 7 days. But tons of new hunts to apply for, including an October rifle season for elk in every single unit and a late season archery elk hunt in December, which I think is I've heard not many permits, maybe as few as 5. It does look like they're going to give non-residents the chance to apply so there should be at least one tag for all those hunts. I think that's a really interesting hunt.
I know. I think it's really interesting.
I think
I'm kicking myself for making the deal with my wife that I won't hunt during Christmas spirit.
Well,
I got to fix that.
I think
now.
It's the 2nd through the 15th.
That's early.
It's early. You're Christmas ready.
Yeah, we're good.
You'd
I'll
be ready.
Christmas ready. Be in a better mood.
I would definitely look at it if I had very few points. Like as a resident, I mean, getting back into the system in my 5 years after my waiting period's up, if they still have that hunt, that's a hunt I'm all in on.
Yeah.
That'd be right up my alley. I would like that. And I think harvest success is going to be higher than it is in a state like Arizona where you've got so much vegetation. It's thick.
Mm-hmm.
I think Utah's a lot more conducive to spot and stock hunting late season with a bow. So I think actually I won't be surprised at all if a lot of those units hit, 40% harvest success on those late hunts. I'll be interesting to see, but that would be my guess. And I don't know. Nobody drinks or smokes in Utah. All they do is go out and hunt. So they hunt a lot harder. So I won't be surprised at all if those tags don't get filled. But yeah, Utah interesting. Nevada coming up. Nevada deadline we talked a little bit about May 10th. So that won't be too long after this comes out.
Yep. Yeah, it's like again that snowpack in Nevada right now. Have you heard anything, Lorenzo, about any potential winter kill in any areas?
No.
I haven't at all.
None.
I haven't heard any.
Like literally zero.
Any talk.
Well, the thing about Nevada, if you think about it, you guys know better than I do, but like you drive out through Nevada.
Our valley floors are so low.
The valley floors are low and so open. So you've got exposed vegetation and there's not a lot of people in Nevada except for a couple pockets.
It's Vegas and Reno.
Vegas,
that's it.
Yeah. And Battle Mountain.
I mean, I don't even know if you could call that.
I've been to a truck stop in Battle Mountain. It's happening.
Flying J, Battle Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great truck stop.
You can't beat it.
But no, I mean, Nevada, everyone is like high up on Nevada right now.
Yeah, even like right now, again, the snow water equivalent map, the whole Clark County, Las Vegas area, we're at over 2,000%.
Holy shit.
Of the 20-year average snow water equivalent.
Holy shit.
2,000.
You're gonna fill up Lake Mead.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
That's
no more dead bodies in 50-gallon drums.
Yeah, isn't it weird? We're coming off such bad drought, like year after year drought, that the mafia bodies are coming up, and now all of a sudden we're just like, bang, there's the water
again. Even like just west of here too, on the mountain range, like Mount Charleston, that's at 6,000%.
Wow,
6,000.
Yeah,
we have a lot of water in this valley.
I'm also not hearing, like I said earlier, kind of the area I'm most concerned that the things I'm hearing the most about are those areas, Western Wyoming, maybe some Southwest Wyoming, Northern Utah, the Cache, kind of the Wasatch back, Western Idaho, but I'm not really hearing a lot about, Colorado. Everything seems to be
just that northwest corner.
Just that northwest corner kind of. And then as far as the southern states go, you start looking at Arizona, New Mexico. I mean, it's going to be good.
Even Montana.
Montana's
actually pretty average.
Yeah.
Across the majority of the state. Yeah, there's a few pockets that are really extreme around like the northern part. But for the most part, it's pretty average. Northern Idaho, same thing. Oregon's pretty much, or Washington's pretty decent. Oregon has quite a few areas with some high snowpack, but
wish I could get a tag in Eastern Washington.
You do.
I do. Back in my college days when I would duck hunt out there in Eastern Washington,
dude,
I saw
you see some big mule deer. When I was bow fishing that country?
Yeah, I saw some big deer. I mean, prime time is November, right? I mean,
that's when I was bow fishing.
It's prime time to go look for big mule deer. And you'd be driving out to the, those sloughs that are sitting in between big sage pockets and bowls. And man, I saw some big bucks.
Overall, I would say pretty good antler year, depending on where you're at. If you're outside of that little pocket we talked about, Southern Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, going to be great. Colorado, I think for the most part, going to be a good year. Even Montana should be a decent year with pretty average precip. Western Idaho, that country, I would say pretty similar. You get up into some of those high elevation units, maybe not, but I would say for the most part, that was one thing I wanted to, all I've heard for like the last month is like Winterkill. It's terrible, know, and it is terrible. There are pockets where it's bad, right? It's going to take some time to bounce back from, but I did want to potentially point out the silver lining in all of it. And there are some areas that are going to do great.
Yeah. Are you're hearing that much of it? People talking about it?
I've heard quite a bit. I think this is probably, you had, 16, 17, I think, like Western Wyoming, that Wyoming range.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk about Winterkill, and I heard a lot about it then. I would say since then, this is by far the most I've heard about Winterkill.
Yep, the most. And I pulled up something on GoHunt earlier. So this is the most we've ever covered in terms of Winterkill articles on GoHunt. We've covered 10 articles already this year across that tri-state area that we're talking about. 10. And 16, 17, we talked about it. It was
but not like this.
Not like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I wanted to cover it. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. Hopefully we all got something. We learned something.
What I'm kind of interested about to know. So Idaho's first round of return tags is coming up.
Yeah. What's the date? Do you know?
The April 20th is when they're available to purchase at 10 a.m. Again, you have to jump in that waiting period.
Purgatory.
the
fun
queue.
thing. Yep. The queue again. We're going to get back in there.
The Taylor Swift queue.
And then
Ticketmaster running that one?
What?
Yeah, you gotta go and do a queue for.
You don't follow. You haven't kept up on Taylor Swift and what she's got.
I'm not a Swiftie.
Why not?
I mean, I had an opportunity in college to go see her, but I didn't want to drive across the state.
That's when you should have went and saw her.
It. Yeah, she wasn't big.
Okay, there you go.
That wasn't just a country singer.
At least you admitted that you regretted it.
You could have
I
shot.
can live with that.
You could have shot your shot back then when you were in
shot
college.
Yep.
She was probably only 16 at the time.
But the interesting thing though, so that's on April 20th. So April 18th, those list of tags show up. Are we going to see potentially more tags be turned in from non-residents in that southeast western Wyoming area this year because of people are concerned about Winterkill? I think that's a deciding factor enough where people might be turning in some of their tags in some of those areas.
It might.
Interesting.
My gut says yes. That's my gut.
I would say marginal. I wouldn't say a ton, but more.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what that number might be this year.
Yeah. That kind of stuff is interesting. I had another guy reach out and say, he asked me if I thought there would be like less hunting pressure from residents in Wyoming in G&H this year based on Winterkill. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting thought.
And I said, I don't think so, because I think people historically pretty much hunt the same areas.
Yeah.
You're going to go back in.
I think about the areas that I like to hunt that are close to my home in southern Utah, and I tend to hunt the same areas. Every once in a while I'll venture out, but I don't think, I would say maybe a little, maybe, but I would say for the most part.
Or do you think more of them will
similar.
go because they're realizing the same thing we are? If you don't go this year, it's not going to be that great.
Or maybe more.
See, this is that variable stuff that it would be awesome to collect on, like just to look in years past and be like, oh, what happened on, what happened this year?
Where'd you hunt and why?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to try to pick up a turn back tag?
Well, not going to be able to, Mr. T-Rail, because
you already bought one?
No, we're going to be out hunting Barbary sheep.
That's right.
That's a good reason to not.
We're going to be backpack hunting in Texas.
That's awesome. I'm jealous of you guys.
I'm going to miss it again. I missed the December 1st one because I was sheep hunting in Tajikistan, and now I'm missing this next one because I'm sheep hunting again.
Hey,
it's pretty
happens
cool.
for a reason.
Yeah, it's pretty. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. But yeah, I really want to just jump in there though to see the chaos and to see, what the process is going to be like. I'm going to have an article already pre-typed up, and then hopefully I'm going to have some assistance from some people in the office to update that with the tag numbers for the article. But
I know there's going to be quite a few people in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get it figured out.
I would say if there's some elk tags that pop up, check those out.
We're going to have to try to climb a mountain trying to get service and try to pick one up on our phone.
I'm not, but...
You're not?
Yeah, I'm not.
I'd be interested, though. I'm really kind of upset a little bit that I'm going to miss out because I don't have a tag yet. But,
Trail,
there's other ones.
Your bow?
I am going to bring my bow.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm going to try to bow hunt. We'll see how it goes. I don't know what my chances might be like. I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. If I have to bring out Brady's long gun, then so be it. But
it'll be dialed. I can tell you that.
It's dialed.
Really, the only reason I decided to bring, I knew Brady would bring a rifle, so I was like, how do I get first crack? I'll bring my bow.
That's a good way to get first crack. Yeah.
Strategy.
Strategy. I'll get first crack, and if I mess it up, then we'll
automatically giving you first crack. It's not going to be if you glass it up and it's big, you can go for it.
Yeah, we can do that too.
I'm just going to sit back and not
that's not what I heard though. I heard Trail gets first crack.
Yeah, archery goes first, man. And if he can't get it done, then you just.
And then if I screw that up, long gun.
I'll just pass over.
I'll hit you on
You're
my
the over-the-top coverage.
I'll hit you on my radio.
It's Texas, man. You can do anything.
Brady over the top, bud. Let it rain. No, it'll be fun though. We're looking forward to that. We're gonna.
Yeah, I'm jealous, man. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. I'm hoping.
You guys are product testing too, right? The Born Primitive
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, going with Sloan from Born Primitive. Got a new line of pants, all kinds of gear.
Yeah,
We're gonna
looks
get a
good.
chance.
So I'm anxious to hear what you guys say about it.
Yeah, and hopefully have a good hunt and get a chance to a couple of nice rams.
Yeah, but by the time this podcast airs, we've already gotten back. So
Really?
yeah.
It won't be quiet. We'll be back in a few days.
Oh yeah,
after.
back in a few days. Yeah, I'll be going on while we're out there. Yeah, that's true.
Which reminds me, if you guys have comments or questions, if you got beef with anything that we said, delay that until Brady and I get back.
Yes,
Delay.
please.
So the 23rd,
Yeah.
just keep your comments to yourselves and then just let us have it full tilt when we
Yeah,
get back.
That way we don't come back to an instant firestorm.
Just let it rain when we get back, huh?
There you go.
No, I'm genuinely interested on people's take on the radios. That is one of those things. It's like what camp you're in, kind of a thing.
Yeah. It's really funny as I think that there are such pockets, because you said at one point you're that Montana guy.
Yeah.
And there's this thing, those Montanans,
They just
we're just
they
not
are
about
so
it.
against it.
they are just hardcore against radios.
I grew up hunting the desert my whole life. It was such a normal thing. It was so normal. I
Yeah.
mean, there's not cell service anywhere. If you leave Vegas, especially, I mean, shit, it's still like that today, which is really frustrating considering how good technology is. But for whatever reason, 90% of Vegas has horrible service. It makes no sense to me. But if you get like one valley outside of Vegas, you're done. So radios were everything,
Yeah.
you know? And then you go up to like Montana and they're just, when I was in college, I could not believe the difference of like, they thought you were the devil if you had
Yeah,
radios.
we like hunting.
It's crazy.
We like hunting old school ways.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
Look, the state is that way. I'm for it. You know,
Yeah,
it is what it is.
That's true. They allow it.
We'll have to do a podcast sometime on state stereotypes.
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be really funny, actually.
Utah's great. Montana's great. Arizona's great.
We'll have to do a deep dive. That would be really funny. 'Cause there's
Meatheads in Arizona, flat billers in Utah,
Yeah.
and then the trad guys in Montana.
Yeah, it'd be a fun podcast.
And there's some bleed out here and there, but for sure, every state has their own little clique, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good deal. Anything else you guys want to hit on? Or are we good?
What would Colorado's be? They're kind of a swath of all of them.
They're kind of a hippie hunter type a little bit.
But then you have like the old cowboy, like
Yeah.
anything goes.
Yeah, I don't know. Colorado's probably the biggest hodgepodge.
Yeah, it's got to be. That's definitely the biggest hodgepodge. Thinking about all the
Yeah.
different hunters there.
The other ones definitely have like a clear stereotype,
Clear.
especially Utah. I make fun of
Oh,
Utah
man.
all the time, but Utah, I would say, is among the champions.
Man, if you don't cut your sleeves off and wear a flat belt to go shed hunting, what are you doing living in Utah? Like, why are you there? Why do you even live there?
Yep.
It's too bad you don't have social media. People are going to be
Send all the DMs to
Antler at Brady Miller.
Yeah, at Brady Miller. I'll do
there
all
you
my communication through at Brady_J_.
Okay, yep, that's it. That's where you
funny.
send them.
All right, well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.